Today we're going to do another video about gas tanks. This is from 86 Shadow, I believe. Obviously needs patched. Someone is buying that so they can take care of that. I got to package this up. This is the secondary tank. So, this is the one that's in the middle. It's buried down in the middle of the bike. 700 Shadow. But anyway, that needs packed up. I just wanted to show you that because gas tank special today. And there's some rust. I shook out what I could. There's a little bit left. But anyway, there's that one. And then we're going to be working on this gas tank. I told you before, this petcock does leak and we have to figure out why and where from. If we can seal it up, we will. If not, I got another one off eBay, so hopefully the petcock that I got off of eBay works. I know I've swapped them before. I don't know if I ever swapped this one or not, but we're gonna have to get the fuel out of there. That'll be a little tricky. I think it's full. Judging by this, it might be full. If I reset that when I started riding this the last time and got gas. But it doesn't really happen when you're riding. It's not like an active leak, but it seeps. And like I said, we're gonna try and get that taken care of. And also, I'm gonna show you another tank we're working on. I had some super fine steel wool, clean that up a little bit. I know, I just took it, I didn't shine it or anything. But we'll let this sit here and see if it leaks on reserve. That sounds pretty good. Alright guys, I should ride, but I gotta take my van home. So I'll see you. Now, I'll continue this video once we find out if this is leaking on reserve. Then we'll know. Hey, we're back on the 85 Kawasaki Vulcan 700. Today, I think we're gonna start working on the tank because it is nice enough to look at. This thing did start and run, but I gotta do some work on that. Like I said, I think we need to ride it. But just a quick look at the tank before we start de-rustifying it. The gas gauge is held in by 8mm bolts on the bottom. They're here. You have a cover over that. This plastic cover is just hanging on. You have to pry that up. Don't break it, but it's under there. And then you have your rusty gas gauge. This thing sits in there and goes up and down with the gas. I don't know if it works. A lot of times when they get rusty, they stop working, but it still does move. It is free, so we can clean that up a little bit. Hopefully it still works. This was held on by a screw or a nail. The key does not. You can just open this with a gas or a screwdriver. But anyway, that's what that looks like. The inside is rusty and roached. It's pretty gross in there. It's gonna be hard to soak this because of all the holes on the bottom due to where this was sitting and this is sitting. 10mm bolts here. They usually have a screwdriver. It's usually stripped out, but there's that. I don't even know. Our filter is completely missing. There should be mesh in there to keep dirt from going in, but now there is no mesh. Let's see, does this turn? Yep, this does turn freely, so whether or not this works or not is unknown. And then you have 2 gas lines coming off there, 1 to each carburetor. I've never seen that on a bike, but let me know in the comments if that's how Kawasaki does it on most bikes. I have a 500 sitting back there in the boneyard, back there in the corner, so I'll have to see if that's set up the same way. I think that's an 86 too, but it's a 500. So here is the beautiful Vulcan. As you saw in previous video, go back and watch that if you didn't see it. We did get it running, and I forget what happened. It's been a couple months since I worked on it. So we're gonna soak this, see if we can get more of this rust out of here, and it'll be a pretty decent tank for someone. I don't know if I'll run it because I don't know about the fuel petcock and everything, but we'll run this bike. Maybe we can take it for a spin, see if she goes through all the gears before we tear it down. But for now, this is what we got. And as I said, Oh, there goes the float. Are you gonna sit correctly for me? We got a hole here and a hole here, so it's gonna be kind of hard to soak it. I don't really have a way to plug those up. You can put a piece of rubber here. I've done that before. But that's a big hole. I've already covered these up. Put a piece of rubber there. So maybe we can do that. We'll see. See if I can soak this on either side. We'll figure it out. But the paint on it is pretty decent. Somebody's gonna want this, and I don't think there's any rust spots on the outside. So I'm gonna go fill it up with some vinegar. That's no big deal, it's just a dent. And we'll go from there. All right, let this sit for about a day. You can see we can't do this whole tank at once unless we plug those holes in the bottom. You can see what we're looking at right now. Let's dump this and see what the front of the tank looks like in just a minute. Well, you can see it's starting to break up. We're gonna have to rough this up, but you see, good clean tank right there in that one spot. But yeah, we're gonna have to rough this up a little bit and get that scale off of there to get that rust. This might be a clean tank when we're done with it. Hopefully, because that's what we're going for. You can see this is just surface. That cleaned up perfectly to the line where it was sitting. But like I said, it's rough in there, but we can save it. Kawasaki Vulcan 700. What is it? 86, I think. Yeah, we're getting some real good stuff out of this tank. Let it soak. Oh my goodness. I let it soak for a while. It is cleaning up a little bit now that I'm looking at it. It was really crusty in there, had a lot of loose junk. It is going to be clean. I think this is going to work. It's just hard to do this tank. I got to get it off with water. I don't want to eat up the paint because it is in pretty good shape. It's hard to do some of these tanks because, of course, you have your hole in the top. Not a big deal, but you also have a hole in the bottom, which I guess I could plug. And then you have a hole on the side for your petcock. So this is your fuel level sensor. This is your petcock, but the stuff in this tank was so bad. And it just sat and rusted. And it looks like a good tank. It's not, we're not getting leaks like the last one we did. But I think it's going to clean up nice. Yeah, it is. It's going to clean up pretty good. So I don't think I'm going to revive this bike, but I did, as I said, I want to see it run. And if we can get this thing, maybe we'll just run an auxiliary tank. But we'll sell this tank once it's relatively clean. The new owner can do what they want with it, seal it or whatever. But I think it's going to clean up decent. We're going to get it to that point. I think what we're going to do, run this chain through there, try and get all that loose crap loose, and then we're going to have to run a bunch of crap through it to get it cleaner and actually not rusty. So that's this tank. And like I said, we're going to go ahead and put a new petcock on the Magna. But just wanted to show you the progress on the Vulcan tank. Can't just plug this hole and be done with it because there's that hole. So it's nice to be able to fill these when you can. But we'd have to come up with a better solution for that. Maybe I will. But for now, we're just getting the crap out. Look at that nasty stuff. So gross. Now I'm running this out of gas so that hopefully when I remove the gas tank lines, it won't drip everywhere. Of course we have that issue, but we'll let's see 5. Already moved this seat. That was 12-inch bolts, 12mm bolts if that's what you have stock. Yep. And then a 5mm hex. We're going to loosen this up. The tank will come free. We'll just jimmy it back a little bit, and then like I said, this is off. This is a mess. We're going to pull the fuel line off here. Gonna loosen that up and pop it off, and then we'll be free. Hopefully it's not leaking everywhere. I'm gonna grab a gas can just in case if this petcock doesn't completely shut off, which it seems to. Here, let's not kill the battery. Seems to, since it just shut off on its own there, and I think there's enough gas in here that it should have ran a lot longer. Yeah, okay, so there's enough in there. we'll pull this off and see why we're leaking. I just happen to have this frame stripped down. Same bike, but doesn't that look super cool? That still looks pretty good. I'm gonna take a picture for the thumbnail. All right, so pulled this off. The petcock is off. We're still leaking. So something's up there, but we're not even leaking from the main draw. It's leaking from somewhere else. So I guess we'll gonna swap this anyway. Hopefully the one I got off eBay is good. But at this point, let's drain the gas out because it's good. See if I can make this reach my can and drain it out. See, if you turn this on, it's just gonna come right out. See that? I think we're loose inside. This petcock needs rebuilt, which I don't really feel like doing. New ones are like 120 bucks, if not more. Here is our petcock. I usually use a big adjustable. I don't know what size that is, maybe 17 millimeter. It's my guesstimate. So here's our old petcock. We have a nice filter on here. You see, it looks like we have a gasket right there in the middle, which you see in here too. It's just floating around. This one came off eBay. We're gonna throw it on, see if it works. Can't be worse than this one, right? My only question is, was this just not tight? It was a little bit loose. I don't know if she was tight on there. Maybe I should have checked that. But anyway, this is the one that's been leaking minimally. And then we're gonna put this one on. It'd be nice to know if this thing actually seals on the inside too. So we're gonna put this one on. I have to make sure, maybe we'll just use this filter. Cause yeah, that has a seal on the middle there. Huh. It goes around the top here, so that one's in there. This one's already there, so let's see. Uh-oh, this one's missing this gasket. So that would leak. Certainly leak there. So we'll pull the gasket out of that and the filter and reset this one. I can already say that this gasket, while intact, is probably dry but not real good. So there's two ways to do this. Find another gasket that'll fit in there. It's really quite exact. Or spread a little bit of gasket maker around this and let that do the talking. So see if we have it O-ring. The other thing is, let's look at the third gen Honda Magna here. And this is what you got when you take your tank off. Air intake snorkel right here. Batteries under the seat here. A little bit of rust we're going to try and take off. It's not going to be perfect, but we can do it manually or soak it. Maybe it would clean up pretty good that way. And then we have all the junk that was draining off there. That's nasty stuff. Let's see if that comes off. And then we're good to go, right? I think so. I always forget when working on these third gens that that little gasket that I said might be junk, it actually fits in here in the tank. So I took some gasket maker, I smeared it up, and I stuck that gasket back in there. So that's going to be in there already when we go ahead and put this in. I'm also going to put some gasket maker around the bottom of the filter. As I said, that right there is meant to seal that up. I pulled the one out of the other filter, and it's really dry and not great. It's rubber, but since this one's in here, that's going to fit in, and it lines up right about with the top of that tube where you will be getting primary versus reserve. So it's supposed to seal that in there, keep that in place. I'm also going to put some gasket material around the bottom here, so we are sealing up around the bottom just a little bit right around that edge, and that'll also keep that in place when we put it back in and we don't lose it in the tank. Make sure none of that gasket gets on the inside, because then your fuel will not flow when you are on reserve. At this point, we're going to go ahead and carefully put this back in and then we will tighten it up with the outer collar. Told you while we're at it, we're gonna get this stuff off. Like I said, I didn't know how good it would come off, but man, if this cleans up just like that, I'll be happy with that. What I'm doing, I thought it was gonna be a little abrasive. It probably is, but I got this guy on the end of a drill, and I'm just hitting it as hard as I want. At least it cleaned up the rust. I'll come back in with some hand stuff, but right now, that's better than it was. We're just gonna let this hang out without fuel touching it for 24 hours. We don't have to ride this thing today, and we'll hook it back up tomorrow. Oh man, one rainy night and all the rust has returned. It's a lot lighter, but I'm gonna have to like put some clear coat over that or something. We're gonna have to treat it somehow to keep that from coming back. So anyway, I scuffed that up. Maybe I should paint it. Should I paint it to match the bike? Rhino lined? Maybe so. All right, so I did keep the rain out of the fuel line with the bag there. So we're gonna go throw the tank back on. It is time. So all we gotta do, slide the two front of the tank over the guys there, and then connect the fuel line. We should be good to go. The bolt, where's the bolt? Oh, I set it in the house. So we're gonna get this thing back together, and hopefully we're no longer leaking fuel. This is not what I want to see. We got fuel dripping out of here already. If it's coming out of here, which it looks like it is, we're fine. That'll go into our fuel line and quit dripping. But if it's dripping from somewhere else above here, then we're in trouble. Looks like it's only, sorry guys, forgot I was taping. Look like it's only coming from there. Let me stick something there to block it. I don't want to use my finger, and see if that's true. I'll be okay with that. All right, well, good news here, I think, is the good news is we're leaking on the inside, which should be fine. Should be fine. As long as we're not leaking around here and dripping outside the bike. Because that'll go into the next petcock. That petcock is only operated by vacuum, so that will block it up. So we should be good. Should be. This is just water, I think, or residual gas. It's not growing. Okay, I think we're good. Hopefully. And let's see if this petcock works. Actually, is that gas? Nope, just water. All right, so we'll turn it to on. Yeah, it's kind of like the last one. Oh, this is tight. I guess this one's shot on the inside, which is why it's probably doing that. Well, if it doesn't even work, what's the point of having it on here? There we go. All right. I think we just ran out of fuel. All right, so come on, reserve. Ugh. Yeah, I thought this was working better than it is. There we go. There's reserve, and I'm just dumping fuel everywhere. Okay, well, it's shot on the inside, needs rebuilt, but at least it's not dripping out over the bike. So, better than the last one. All right, once I get the bolt back on the back, oh, here's my vent tube. That has to go down inside under there, so we can do that in a minute. But this is all screwed down. Don't use those little clamps that don't actually crank down with the bolt, because they loosen and then you have leaks. So I like to use the ones that crank down. Don't make them too tight, but there's nothing really to crush in there. It's metal. And then here we go. So it's off, and hopefully with a little bit of love, this thing will work and not leak. So that's it for today's video. You saw some other tanks We're going to keep working on the Vulcan tank and hopefully get that cleaned up once and for all. And then this will be done. This will be running. Get it back on the road. And yeah, that's it. So I will see you on the next one. Get out and ride your bike. I will see you later. Got her on reserve.